Sam and John's Book Club, Edgedancer edition.
Yeah, for anybody who managed to listen through that without turning this off, welcome
Kudos.
to the podcast. We read Edgedancer, didn't we?
Yeah, special novella edition, but not really because you kind of have to read this part. I mean, you don't have to, but
I'd say it offers up some pretty essential info if you want to stay caught up with Nolan, Herald of Justice, and Zeth, and Lift. I'd say it's important to read this.
I didn't know exactly why, like if it was meant to be a fill-in or like what, but then there was a little. I don't know what you call it.
His little postscript.
Yeah,
his,
postscript. Perfect.
Yeah, whatever.
Kind of explaining, which was fun. Fun little message from Brando Sando right to me, or you, if you're you.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Brando Sando, I don't know if we don't really do like Brando Sando news on this podcast, but I am now.
Right.
He released for free a book called The Way of Kings Prime.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Basically, a long time ago, way before he wrote The Way of Kings, he wrote The Way of Kings.
Sure.
And it ended up getting changed massively, and like almost all of the character names are different. And in this one, according to a little spiel he gave on his during one of his book signings, like Renarin wrote the diagram in this one, like during the book.
Whoa!
Like it's very different in a lot of ways.
What the heck? Okay.
And it's just for free. Like the PDF went out like yesterday. I want to say I haven't read it yet, but I'm really thinking about it.
Interesting. Yeah, that would be kind of.
And he says to think about it like as if the Way of Kings had happened in some alternate universe,
right.
more or less.
Yeah, that's kind of a fun insight.
Yeah. So
the creative process.
Maybe I'll read that and just briefly share my thoughts on it.
That sounds like Prime. Like I didn't even realize I was doing that, but. Like prime real estate for between books, 4 and 5, I guess. I mean, that's gonna be like 2 years, but.
Oh sure, when you're in a Brando Sando drought,
yeah, when you're
and
in
you
a
gotta
bit of
fill
a
it with
slump.
something.
Yeah, I mean, I could read his other books, which I'll probably do, but because I have not read everything he's ever written like you have. But
Edgedancer. When we last saw Lift, she was leaving Azimir, the Azish Empire.
Yeah,
what do you
call it? It's Azimar. Yeah, Azimar.
Okay.
That's how it's spelled.
She made her friend the Grand Vizier or whatever,
Emperor, yeah.
which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And now she is out going to this other city where everyone's hungry.
Yep.
And also they do pancakes. And that's really the meat of the story. This could have easily been renamed Lift in the Quest for the 10 Pancakes.
Yeah, honestly, like, the meat and potatoes of the story are the pancakes and the hungry people.
Yeah. And I don't know if I want to go through this, like, chronologically.
Yeah, it was
I kind of just want to talk about the whole thing in general, because it's rare that we read... This is the first time we've ever read a whole thing and just covered it in one little go.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because, like, because the whole novella, I guess we'll call it, was, like, I don't know, maybe, like, 1 1/4 of our regular, like, reading chunks. But then... in the little postscript, Brandon Sanderson was like, yeah, this was supposed to be like 18,000 words, but I'm Brandon Sanderson, so it was accidentally 40,000.
What can you do? Whoopsie daisy.
Right, and it did feel not like rushed exactly, but like I did think there were some chapters where I was like, cool, all right, let's move it along, which is like never what happens with Brandon Sanderson.
Really?
I mean, not so much that it was like, by the next chapter I was like, okay, I know what we're doing, but like there were a few chapters where I have like one note, and I was like, okay, and they do this for like a minute.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Big chunks of it, not big chunks, but like, it wasn't all super duper interesting, but the parts
Let's go ahead and start. Let's start by just like, let's review the book.
Okay.
As a whole, the novella.
Yeah.
And let's not do any spoilers.
Okay.
And we can just kind of do that really quick, and then if you haven't read it, you can just stop listening and go read it really quick or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll get into a spoiler zone, okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, it was good. It supplies what I consider to be essential insight into the Stormlight Archive kind of world and the lore. Definitely something that I recommend reading before book 3 as a standalone piece of literature. Probably not that good. Probably really confusing. I don't think any of these characters make like a ton of sense outside of the context of like the greater story. This isn't something that you could just read by itself. Definitely an installation in the series. As a standalone, I liked it. Lift certainly isn't my favorite character in the Stormlight Archive universe. However, I like her more after reading this. It created some questions. It gave some answers. Did it give any answers?
Sorta.
And it provided insight not just into Lift's lore, but really made me ask some big questions about the world overall. And overall, as a fan of the Stormlight Archive, I love this little novella between books 3 and 4. I hope there are more little novellas between future books that provide insight on additional kind of more minor characters.
Like, going into it, I didn't really like it. I didn't like the idea of just like shoving a little novella between the books as like a bridge between the two, but that's not exactly what it is. I mean, there are some details in it that we'll get into that like will come up in book 3 that I'll be glad to have the context for. But after reading it, I was like, oh, it's kind of nice. And reading his postscript explaining like these were things I wanted to put in the books, they never really found their way in. So I just like wanted to explain some things, just pop a little novella in there. I was like, okay, I'm fine with that.
So if you're reading the Stormlight Archive, I think this is essential. 10 out of 10. As just a piece of media. Certainly didn't enjoy this as much as like The Way of Kings, for example, or like his the entire books. However, really really nice. Solid 8 or 9 out of 10. I love everything Brandon Sanderson does. This was no different.
And I mean, it's so short you could literally knock it out in a day. I mean, So
I almost knocked it out in a day, but then I got a text halfway through about how you wanted to reschedule this. So
I did. I read most of it in a day. I read like there's like 20 chapters or something. I read like probably 15 in one day. So, but I mean, it's fun. It's got the Brandon Sanderson elements you're looking for. It's got some twists and turns.
A beautiful coming of age story. No, I'm kidding.
Really.
Let's go ahead
What's the word for that? A building's Roman.
Yeah, I thought Lift was really a Christ-like figure. Okay, but let's I guess let's hop into the spoiler zone.
Yeah.
So if you haven't read this book and you plan on reading the Stormlight Archive, read this book as well. There you go. That's my review.
I'm gonna move my mic a little closer. It's probably fine, but now it's gonna be extra fine.
Now it's so fine. Yep. It's like exceptionally fine.
Exceptionally fine. So first thing we got to get into, I think there was a typo. I don't know.
What?
There was a typo? The very first chapter, I don't know if this was like Lift's weird talking. It might have been.
Yeah.
But the word is axe hinds, and I was like, the hind of an axe hound? Because it didn't sound like that. And I'm just...
They might just be called different things, different places in the world, John.
That's true. I don't know. If Brandon Sanderson doesn't explain this, canceled.
Okay, well, next time you see him in person, you can ask, was that a typo in Edgedancer?
Yeah.
And then he can tell you, no, it wasn't a typo, and you'll be put to rest.
Great.
So this was Liv has traveled to a city. She's hunting down Darkness, who we find out we already kind of know is Nalan, the Herald of Justice. He picked up Zeth at the end of the last book. This is immediately after the end of the last book. The Everstorm has started circling the globe, or whatever it's doing.
Right. Dalinar's put out his call to all the other countries, letting them know it's coming.
And they're all like, "Why the heck does he know this? Is he responsible for it somehow?"
Right, yeah.
Ooh. And I'm sure that's going to be a whole political thing. The Everstorm is approaching. It is going to wreak havoc. And Lift is currently in this city. I don't remember what it's called. She's kind of hanging out in the slums. She's gone there to hunt down Darkness before he kills again, because that's clearly still what his whole thing is, right? Is he's just murdering potential Radiants.
Right. And so he's kind of he's almost in the anti... what's his name? The guy that killed Kaladin's friends, took a shard blade.
Amaram.
When he's kind of on the opposite spectrum of Amaram, he's like, if we kill all the knights, Voidbringers won't come back. Whereas Amaram's
like, if the Voidbringers come back, we'll get knights.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah,
and I mean, of the two, it almost makes Amaram seem kind of sane, but I don't know why that seems more likely to me.
Sure.
But because it seems like, Nalan is like, he's like, if we get rid of the solution, there will be no problem. Whereas Amaram's like, we cause a problem, we'll get the solution, and that seems more logical to me somehow.
I mean, yeah, the story overall, Lift is eating pancakes. She meets an old mean woman who runs an orphanage.
The Stump.
Who it later turns out is a budding Radiant. Lift ends up facing off against Nalan, and eventually making him realize that, oh no, it is too late. The Radiants are, the Voidbringers are back. The Radiants are back. Right. Stop killing Radiants.
It takes bringing him out into the Everstorm to see like what's going on. For him to finally face the music.
He decides he is going to stop killing Radiants, so that's totally baller and very cool.
Sick.
And it makes me wonder what his whole order of Skybreakers is going to be up to.
And what's Zeth's deal now,
Yeah, at the end of the last book, he was like, hey, Zeth, maybe you want to go kill all of the Shin, Shin, like, Elder Council or whatever. And I totally thought we were going to, go forwards, and it was going to be like, well, Zeth has now killed the Elder Council of Shinovar, right?
No, he's just hanging out.
In fact, he hasn't. Yeah, he's kicking it with he's got Night Sword. What's it called?
Nightblood, I think.
Nightblood. He's got Nightblood.
Yeah.
He's just chilling with Nightblood.
I'm so glad Nightblood is back. He was the best character in Warbreaker. I know I've said this a million times already, but
I'm like 10 or 12 chapters into Warbreaker now.
Oh, okay. I started rereading it.
I would say so far it's better than I remember it. Although I do remember my issue with the book being its ending.
Yeah, no, that's also the problem I have with Warbreaker.
Yeah, but I'm enjoying it. I'll talk about that more once I've gotten further in.
Yeah, I probably won't reread that just because, reading is like, it's not slower than listening, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know.
You can listen while you do other things.
Right, yeah.
I listen while I take my dog on walks or while I play chess or whatever.
Right, yeah, I guess there's that, yeah. Whereas reading is a pretty straightforward activity. But
reading requires 100% of your attention.
But Warbreaker wasn't that long ago. I mean, aside from these books, it might have been the last Brandon Sanderson thing I read.
Yeah.
I think it was, yeah. So, anyway. The thing I want to talk about, and this isn't a huge plot point, well, it kind of is the philosopher guy.
Arlo. Now, you say this isn't a huge plot point, but I kind of think that it is.
I think it's Arklo. Doesn't have a C.
Sounded like you said Arlo to me.
I'm going to check. You talk while I go grab the book.
I only heard it spoken, so... Alright, well, Arlo is a sleepless. He is an Aeamian. We've heard about Aeamia only once before, I want to say, or maybe a couple of times. Aeamia is where Axes the Collector is from, and Arlo actually calls him out by name.
Yeah, I thought it was Axes just because he was like the only, guy of that race. I don't remember how it's pronounced, but...
well, he didn't say he was the only one, or he was the last one or anything.
No, I know. I was just like, I just assumed because it was the only one we had seen so far. And then, he calls him out, says his name is Arklo, probably.
I am thinking that Arlo is of a different race than Axes altogether.
Oh, really?
They both come from Aeamia, but yeah, I mean, because Axes, he had kind of blue skin, and he could shape himself a little bit and make tattoos appear and disappear on himself and whatnot at will.
That's right.
Whereas Arlo's made all up of bugs.
Yeah, he's like just kremlings that all
just a bunch of little
crawl around. Very creepy.
A bunch of little shrimp crawling all over the place, and they have different body parts on them. And when they all knit together, they form this visage of a man.
Right, which sounds truly horrifying.
Yeah. However, it sounds like all of his little kremlings do not have to be attached to him to be fully functional sensory organs, right? So he is maybe a little all-knowing, depending on how far-reaching his hordlings are, right? And who knows?
Lift even mentioned that they looked a little different from regular kremlings.
Sure, I briefly mentioned this to Lucas. I was like, "What's up with this Arlo guy?" And Lucas is our friend, who is he's much deeper in the lore in all of this than we are. He's the He doesn't just read the books. He, is on forums and is like researching things that Brandon Sanderson had said in interviews, and whatnot. And apparently, there are theories about I guess if we're paying close attention, there have been times before in a book where some character, whether it be Kaladin or whoever, has commented on a Kremling that looked a little weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So...
Right. All of those, like, passing comments I'm, like, now very suspicious of, obviously.
Those are things that even the second time around I, like, wasn't paying attention to.
It is Arc
now
also. So,
all right.
That's embarrassing.
Arlo...
But yeah, it's like...
The thing is that Arlo, I think that sometimes when a normal person would say I, he does say we.
Mm-hmm.
So some of his we's about, like, we have been watching, like, the Surgeon, the Warlord, he said something about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that means Arlo's Horde has been watching everybody, or if it means there are other sleepless, other beings like him who have been collectively watching everybody.
Okay, I read it as just like him, his little bug boys. But
that's kind of what I'm leaning towards as well.
Yeah,
there are other people like him because he called himself a sleepless. He said, if you meet any of the other sleepless, tell them that you met me and they'll sympathize with you. Right?
Yeah.
So he's kind of a weird sleepless, kind of an against the grain sleepless, as I understand it.
Yeah, these like Axes and this guy remind me of that one race in Mistborn of the shapeshifters. What are they called? Do you remember?
Oh, my gosh, how do I not remember this?
I know. Yeah, it's like kanji or something.
Dude, I totally don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Yeah. In any case, that's like what I relate these guys to, right? And they're kind of similar to those guys, and they're weird, and they've got strange ways that they present themselves between these two guys. I mean, I don't know what's up with this whole region they're both from, but yeah. So we have the sleepless...
it's this island. It is on the map in the cover of Oathbringer.
Oh, really?
This island, it's like it's in Roshar. Why are the beings that come from this island so different than the beings from the rest of the world? Don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of whack.
We find out this kind of... I mean, I guess it wasn't as obvious to me in the little interlude we had for Lift. But she's, like, not that good at using her powers. Like... She's
figuring it out.
Right, yeah. It's just
she's like Kaladin good. She's learning, you know?
Right. It's just funny to see, like, how she, uses it in different situations. Because, like, if she's just making her whole body, like, slick so that people can't grab onto her when she's, like, running away, like, that's pretty easy to do. But then she's trying to, like, do these big jump roller skate thingies, but she keeps, like, flapping backwards because her feet have no friction whatsoever.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts was where she was sitting on the ground and she was slick. And then Alon just kicked her backwards down the hallway.
Oh, yeah.
And she was sliding back, and then she turned her friction off, and then suddenly she, like, tumbled backwards over her head.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was really easy to imagine for me. I really liked that visual.
Yeah, that's... Because, I mean, Brandon Sanderson's one of his big strengths that, people know him for is his, like, magic systems. And his whole belief on a magic system is, like, the reader's understanding of it is directly proportional to how the character uses it to solve problems. And so Lift using it to solve problems or failing to use it to solve problems, like, it makes a very clear, like, mental image of how it works, which is really nice.
Yeah. I like as well that whichever character I'm currently watching, I feel like their powers are OP.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
So it's just like he just throws problems at these characters, and then whatever toolkit they have, they find a way to use it to solve the problems, right? And I like that a lot. That's fun. Yeah. That's like the whole reason people like The Martian, right? Was that the author just kept throwing problems at this guy, and then he just kept figuring out how to solve them, right? And that's kind of a little bit how all the characters work with their various Stormlight powers. They each have some tasks they have to complete, and even though they all have different powers, they all figure out how to get everything done in the end, right?
Yeah. So far, it seems to me like Shallan's is probably the strongest, but I don't know. Kaladin can literally fly now, so...
Yeah, really Kaladin can fly. That's pretty good. Also, alright, so Kaladin is Windrunner, right? His abilities are binding and gravitation.
Right. And
now the Skybreakers clearly also have gravitation. What is their second thing? Oh. Do we know?
No, I don't think we do, yeah. Because Nin has his, like, little minions, his two little cronies, and they can fly. Like, for sure.
Yes. And we see them do that, for sure.
Right. And so, also, on the note of Zeth, like, does Nightblood give him any powers other than being, like, super OP by himself?
I don't think so. I don't think Zeth can fly.
No, I think, like... I mean, anybody that has Nightblood is just already doing okay.
The thing is, I'm thinking that Nightblood comes from another world. It is not a Shardblade. It's not a Deadspren, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could feasibly be a Night Radiant that just also has Nightblood.
Right, which sounds insane.
Here's what I'm thinking. Kaladin's followers, right, Bridge 4, are now developing Windrunner powers, right?
Right.
So if Zeth keeps hanging around Alon, will Zeth just develop Skybreaker powers and also have Nightblood?
You think he'll be a Squire Radiant with Nightblood?
Maybe.
Could be.
It seems like Squire Radiant still get all the perks, right?
Yeah, no, they're pretty...
Or I guess we haven't seen it fully manifest yet.
Right.
Maybe it's like a weaker version of the powers or something. I don't know.
That's kind of my thinking, yeah. But I mean, hey, I'm here for it.
Yeah, so either way, Zeth is, I don't think losing that Honor Blade is going to stop him from being OP anytime soon.
No, I mean, Zeth is too cunning in his own right.
Yeah.
I did really like the part where Lift is, like, infiltrating to hear, what Nalan and all of his people are doing. Like, she's in their, like, headquarters. And Zeth sees her, and he just, like, pulls the sword out a little bit, and the black smoke goes everywhere, and she, like, gets really nauseous. Then he just, like, slams it back in there. He's like, sword likes you, you're good.
Yeah, the sword likes you. Yeah, cool.
It's like you're carrying around this cat that, like, sniffs people, and the cat's like, like, all right, the cat approves.
There was a line about Zeth. When he moved, he had, like, an after image.
Yeah, that's right.
What did Nightblood never caused that to be a thing, right?
Yeah, I do not recall that. And
as someone who is currently reading Warbreaker, having a lot of breath doesn't cause you to have an after image.
Right. I mean, like, it makes colors more vibrant, but yeah, nothing to, like, that effect.
It makes them, like, radiate. Like, if you're wearing white, like, it might make that radiate rainbow colors or whatever.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of breath. But
yeah, no.
Don't know what's doing that. Don't know why Zeth has an after image. Yeah. Very mysterious.
Yeah, super weird.
Also, I don't know if did we say this on the podcast that Hoyt is totally an Awakener? I don't think we said this in the podcast. I think I sent you a text about this, and that was it.
I don't remember reading that.
So I was reading Warbreaker, right? Yeah. And there was a line about when you reach the second heightening, you gain perfect pitch.
Right.
And we had commented on this earlier. Hoyt had a line a while ago now. It might have been like more than a month ago that we talked about this. He was saying, like, oh yeah, it's been easier ever since I gained perfect pitch. And we were like, can you gain perfect pitch later in life?
Right, yeah.
It turns out, yes. If you get enough breath to hit the second heightening.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
So, yeah, Hoyt is totally an Awakener. That might also be why he wears all black.
Could be, yeah.
To hide.
Right, his, like, springing colors from the breaths. God, the magic system in Warbreaker is one of the best. But it's, like, it's so weird at the same time.
Yeah, I'm excited for it to be incorporated in a...
Yeah, it seems like with Stormlight, all of the powers from Warbreaker and from Mistborn, like, you can combine all those to do some wacky stuff.
Yeah, and I am excited for that to start happening more and more, I hope. It might just be Hoyd. Hoyd's already done Allomancy, we expect, and he's an Awakener.
Right, yeah, like...
Oh, man.
Oh, good stuff.
I'm excited. I'm so psyched for this series to just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like... The whole time I was reading through Edgedancer, I was like, oh man, I hope one of the main characters, like, pops up. Not that I have anything against Lift, but, like, I'm just not nearly as invested in her, like, story. And so the whole time I was reading it, I was like, oh, there's stuff going on with, like, she mentions Dalinar, like, warning everybody to the storm. I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to get back to Dalinar.
Well, the thing is, at the end, Lift she was suddenly starting to think, like, you know what, it's time to, like, take responsibility and start, like, doing more.
Right.
And I think that Lift might go join the Knights Radiant, right? Like, they have a base now. I suspect they're recruiting, right?
Right, yeah, probably.
Lift might show up and just be, like, a staple character.
Also, what's her whole deal with the Night Watcher? Is that what we decided?
Night Watcher.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I wanted to talk about next also.
She went straight, she was like, Peter Pan, I never want to get older. Like, that was her thing she wished for, but we don't know what her curse is, and we think maybe her eating and converting that into Stormlight might have something to do with it. There's
now,
a
hear
lot
me
of
out.
stuff going on. Yeah.
I am not sure that she's actually not aging. I think she might still be aging.
I think she is, yeah.
Because, okay, we learned a couple of things about Liv's backstory from this. All right, so from the last book where we saw her in that interlude, we learned some stuff about her.
Right.
She said a line about how she's been 10 for 3 years now, right? Mm-hmm. And then in Brandon Sanderson's kind of postscript after Edgedancer, he was like, "Oh yeah, that was a hint. Maybe she thinks she's really not aging, haha." And I was like, "Thank you, Brandon Sanderson."
All right, yeah. For your nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah. So during this, we learned a lot more about her backstory, namely that her mom died, right? Liv was in a position where, like, she had to take care of her mom, and she did a bad job at it, and her mom died.
Yep.
Maybe actually directly because of Liv's actions. We don't really know.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Liv was really hard on herself about that, and she kind of fled to the Night Watcher and asked that the world. She said the world is supposed to change around me. I'm supposed to say the same. That was the deal, right?
Yeah.
She said she had a line like that. So what exactly were her words to the Night Watcher?
Right.
We don't know.
Because, like, that's so vague, you know? Like, it depends on what she actually said, how the Night Watcher interprets it. I don't know if it's like a monkey paw kind of situation.
Exactly. So, like, yeah. Liv seemed to be under the impression that she was no longer aging, but...
Right. So, like, what's Liv's whole deal, right? She's like, I don't want to stick around anywhere too long because then people will become, like, dependent on you and they, like, care about you. And she's not about that. She doesn't want that at all.
Yeah. She doesn't, she's like, what do you call that when... Oh, my God. This is, like, a really common phrase that I should totally know. You don't want to, like, date somebody because you're afraid of the commitment.
I don't know.
Liv is really afraid of commitment and responsibility.
Yeah.
And there's a term for it.
Non-committal.
That is a term for it.
I just want to, like, I'm normally so good about this, you know? But, yeah,
all right.
I don't know.
Well,
if you think of it, send it to me later. But
all right. And by the end of this story, she's kind of gotten over that a little bit.
Yeah, which is nice. That was I mean, I feel like that it was almost brought up too much. I was like, okay, I get that's her deal. But it was like, you know, in such a short book, it's like, all right, we really got to, like, kind of shoehorn the character development in here a little bit. And so, I don't know. I was glad she had that development.
Also, she manifests her shard blade as just, like, a quarterstaff, which is kind of cool. I kind of like that.
Yeah. What do you think of Wendell in general?
Oh, I like Wendell. He's like... He reminds me of Brady's D&D character.
That's exactly
not just because he's a gardener.
That's exactly
the thing is, Wendell, he's like very nice.
Yeah.
And a little bit dopey almost.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like the nuggets of information that Wendell accidentally drops make me wish that he had been a character earlier because we would have learned a lot of stuff.
Yeah. No, I literally hear his voice as Brady's character in D&D's voice. Like,
yeah, I like Wendell.
Yeah,
I like Wendell,
and I like how, you know, he's sort of like I don't know, yeah, like sort of dopey. And then there's that one point where he's like, "I'll go in and I'll listen. I want to do this. I want to be brave." And I was like, "Good for you, Wendell. Hey."
Yeah, Wendell. He's like, you know, he's like, "Oh, I just want to go back to my gardens," but then also, you know, he's like, we should help. He wants to help. He wants to, like, do the right thing, and, like, I don't know. He's cool.
Yeah, they're such a strange combo. Those two characters, Lift and Wendell, like, not a likely pair whatsoever.
Also, at the end, I think Liv said something about the fact that she was, like, finally willing to stop calling Wendell a Voidbringer, and I was like, oh, finally.
Yeah, that was like,
yes.
Okay, that's kind of funny. But yeah, the very last line, I think, of Edgedancer, she's like, "You know what, Wendell, I'm starting to think you might not be a Voidbringer." And I was like, okay, that's a fun little last line.
Also, Liv does this thing where she acts stupid on purpose all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. For sure.
She's you know, Wendell's like, "Why did we come here? It's so dangerous." She's like, I wanted pancakes, you dumb idiot." And like, she's always trying to justify her actions as like, haha, these are just the wacky
Right,
shenanigans of a 10-year-old girl, right?
Yeah.
Hee XD, so random.
Hijinks. Yeah.
But then everything she does
actually deliberate.
Has a purpose, right?
And
like
when she first arrives, a choice. So she like
when she first arrives in the city,
they aren't.
When she first arrives in the city and she's just like using her powers all willy-nilly, I'm like, whoa, I guess Lift is not super concerned with being covert.
Mm-hmm.
And then later Wendell has a line about how like you displayed your powers deliberately to try to draw in darkness,
mm-hmm.
right?
And I was like, oh, yepper depper.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, she's just even when it's like, why did you come to the city? She's like, haha, pancakes. But actually, it's because she was like hunting this guy, right? And she wants to make sure that it doesn't hurt any more people.
Yeah,
and Liv, she's just weird.
Yeah, she's so hard to pin down, which is like actually a very effective strategy against her. But
yeah,
it's like there are a few points where going back to that, like the world changes around me. She was like so hesitant to make like a yes or no choice when it was that black and white, but she's
mm-hmm.
like actually deciding all the things she's supposed to do, but she just makes it seem like they're all wacky hijinks, like just being spontaneous and everything.
Yeah, I feel like Lift is like a real drunken master type of character.
Yeah,
she just also happens to be a little girl.
Right? Yeah, 100%. It's a very weird character. Like I don't know if
I really like the fact that Lift is actually intelligent though, and a little bit mature when it comes to big decisions.
Yeah.
Just immature in her day to day.
Right. Your pancakefulness.
I'm happy that she's not actually just a stupid little girl.
Right, yeah. Yeah. No, she is.
Even though she pretends.
I did like that was probably the best part of this because like you don't necessarily totally get that from the interlude, but like mm-hmm. throughout this whole novella, you realize there's a lot more depth to just rather than she's just trying to eat people's lunch and do whatever she feels like.
Yeah.
Also, her food Stormlight thingy is so strange. Everything about this character is weird.
Yeah, it's like she's just got to carry around a bunch of beef jerky all the time or something. I don't know.
But that's the thing is she doesn't carry around spheres to buy food. Like she makes it so that getting food is always a challenge somehow. Like,
mm-hmm.
but she always manages to do it. Like she does everything in the least conventional way, but it all just kind of works out.
Yeah, she's pretty whack.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. The more I talk about her, the more I like her as a character. But
yeah, I think I like her as well. And based on Brandon Sanderson's little postscript, he also really likes her.
Yeah.
And she's going to become a pretty major character
mm-hmm.
pretty quick here.
Right. And it's kind of
that's something that came up though with like the Wheel of Time, was that originally your main author, or Robert Jordan, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had like just apparently like a plethora of major characters, and you were bouncing between perspectives like crazy to the point where you would like forget what was going on with one character by the time you got back to them,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And he was counseled to like remove one of the like there were going to be 4 boys from Emmonsfield, and he was counseled to like remove one and introduce him as a character later in the series,
right?
Because it was just like too much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy that Brandon Sanderson is doing that exact sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where, like we could have been getting Lift's perspective
this entire time, and it probably would have been something where we're like, geez, can we just get back to Kaladin and Dalinar, right? Every time. Yeah.
And I'm happy that he's kind of waited to, he's given us, she exists, we know it.
Right.
But she's not going to become a major character until book 3 or maybe even later, right?
Because pretty much in the postscript he says like the point of this book is to make you realize that Nin has like realized that Knights Radiant are back, and that Lift
mm-hmm.
has like gotten to the point where she's like not a full-fledged Radiant, but she can summon the weapon and all that jazz. And he was like, that's stuff that's already going to happen in Oathbringer. But, like, now you have the context for how we got from, like, where we were to where we are. And I was like, okay, nice little fill-in.
Yeah.
I know exactly why this was here. That was, like, really good to know.
So, questions going forwards.
Yeah.
What exactly did Lift say to the Night Watcher?
What did anybody say to the Night Watcher? What is Dalinar's whole deal?
I want a book that's all we're just watching the Night Watcher, and it's like 6 months passed, and then this person entered her cave or whatever the fuck, and this is what went down.
Yeah, I just want an Excel sheet of like that the Night Watcher keeps, like this person, here's what they asked for, here's what I gave them, here's their curse.
Yeah,
Just give me a full log.
So what exactly did Lif say to the Night Watcher? Mm-hmm. Why does Zeth have an after image? Mm-hmm. What is up with Arlo and Axes and Aemia? Mm-hmm. Or Aemia? I don't remember what it's called, but we know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's actually it. I think those are my three big questions coming out of this.
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, like, everything else is stuff we already, like, kind of know, or, you know, that Words of Radiance more or less set up for, so we'll get those, you know, Oathbringer. But yeah, this being, like, its own standalone story about a character that we haven't got, you know, really any information on so far, it's, like, hard to know how much of that will be there in the main line.
Yep. And moving forward, I'm sure that when we get into Oathbringer, it's going to start out with the aftermath of the first ever storm, kind of on a global scale.
Yep.
And we're going to get to hear about all of that. And I'm sure that they're going to be trying to get the Oath Gates back, and Yasna is going to make her way back to everybody else, and that's going to be cool. Like I said last time, I'm happy that Yasna's alive.
Right.
I am.
I just need to get over it and just accept that this is the world that we're reading in.
Yeah. The way she got there was questionable to me, but I'm happy she's alive.
Right. Yeah.
And honestly, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I did take notes on every chapter, but like many chapters land 1 or 2, and I think I pretty much touched on everything I wanted to mention too. So
yeah. So thank you, Brandon Sanderson, for another lovely book. I know you listen to all of these episodes.
Mm-hmm. We really appreciate that.
Yep.
If you could plug them more, that would be even better. But hey, no pressure.
Yeah, and next time, John, guess what we're doing?
Are we starting Oathbringer?
We're getting real close to the release of Rhythm of War.
I'm so excited for us to read where you haven't read it yet. I mean, like, it hasn't really been a problem at all, and I honestly, like, I wanted to say this in past episodes, but you've done a very good job of not giving up any spoilers, or, like, even, like, you've led me to some, but, you know, I feel like I still got there myself.
Well, I've also led you to some stuff that isn't true,
right,
like
Shalon
having an honor blade or whatever, right?
Right.
And it's not that I'm like, oh man, better throw in some tricks for John here, right? I'm saying the stuff that it's partially me trying to remember what I actually thought was happening the first time I went through all of this, right?
Yeah.
But also me trying to do something which is, I think, almost impossible, where I try to come to logical conclusions without taking into account stuff in the future, right?
I think it's like you're very good at, like trying to come up with things that I would come up with based on the information I would have. But also, your memory is bad enough that you might just not remember things.
My memory is bad. Like, I don't know. A lot of what I say to you is very genuine. I want you to know that.
Yeah,
but I do certainly avoid that. There are some things I clearly know is going to happen that I try to keep hush-hush, right?
So it'll be fun to have dueling theories where, you know, either one is just as likely or whatever.
Yeah, I am also incredibly excited to get to stuff I haven't read before and to actually, like, be on an even playing field with you in that regard. That's going to be awesome.
For the first time.
Yeah. That being said, I'll still have Lucas to tell me stuff.
Yeah, you have an encyclopedia on your side.
Yeah, it's a problem. I actually mentioned to him, like, you know, if you want to maybe even appear in some like podcast episodes or something, you could read at our pace, and that could be cool,
absolutely,
right? Yeah. And he was like, I think I'm gonna read it all the first day. And I was like, well,
okay.
Yeah,
can't blame you.
Yeah.
So
okay.
All right. So what are we reading?
Next time, John, we are reading from the start of Oathbringer up through chapter 10.
All right. Sounds good.
Bada bing, bada boom. All of Oathbringer is going to be 13 readings.
Okay. How many were the other two?
12 or 13 each.
Okay, all right. I mean, it looked like about the same size, but...
And actually, really quick, I'm going to pull up a calendar. Let's see. So we're going to finish the first one August 10th, then August 17th, 24th, 31st, September 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th, 5th, 12th, 19th, 26th. And we're going to finish this book on November 2nd, on my birthday.
Oh wow, that's
when we're going to record the episode for the end of Oathbringer.
Wow, that's kind of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. When does
and then I think we might actually have a week or two off because I think that the book comes out in late November.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Cause,
darn, so the timing wasn't perfect. Oh, curses.
Yeah. I was just thinking about it because I was like, I might have to. I mean, I'll probably have to pre-order the book because I read the actual books, you know. But I was just thinking about it. I was like, crap, all of my books that I've gotten so far are the little chunky boys that are like this big, right? I mean, they're literally this big. But when they're released, I think they're just, whenever a new book is released, it's always released on a hardcover first, so I might just have to get that one. And it will, those are like twice as big, because like this isn't even the normal paperback size. Like I have to request this on Barnes & Noble when I bought it, because the other one is like twice as big and not as chunky, right? It's like probably easier to read.
Actually, I'm curious about this as well. I'm not watching the release of new books like a hawk, normally. I normally read books after they've come out. They've been out a hot minute, right?
Yeah.
Does the audiobook come out on the day the book is released, or is that later?
Oh, well, so the only insight I have in how books are released are from John and Hank Green that talk about it a lot when they release books.
Yeah.
And for them, the audiobook comes out at the same time. So.
Okay.
Seems like a safe
bet.
Well,
if you want, you could just do the audiobook with me, John.
That's true, yeah. I don't know. That's like, I can read faster than I can listen, though. So if I, like, put it off, then I would have to be like, then it would for sure take longer. But
I listen to mine on, like, 1.2 times speed.
Oh, sure.
And you could do even faster. Like, I've had books that I've listened to on, like, 1.5 times.
Right.
But it depends on how much I'm enjoying them, you know, how fast I want to listen to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it's not the same size, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, we might have to pre-order it. But yeah, weird thing about books being published, they're always, as far as I know, they're always released in hardcover first because hardcovers are more expensive.
Yeah.
And they're always, and I think this is for literally every book published, at least in the United States, always released on a Tuesday. Don't know why.
Really?
Yeah. Like, because Hank was talking to his like publisher or whatever. He was like, "Could we release it on this day for like this reason or something?" They were like, "No, got to be a Tuesday."
Dang, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what. I can't remember what the reason is, but
I'm looking up Rhythm of War. It says November 17th.
Oh, okay.
Is the official release date.
So yeah.
Okay,
just about 2 weeks.
We are gonna have two dead weeks, I think. Or if we want, we could even do a
short little
little book on the side, a little, anything 80,000 words or less, we could fit in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I would love to do and we're gonna have to figure out something to do after Rhythm of War too, assuming we want to.
Tons of books out there, dude. Tons of books.
And I've had a compulsion ever since kind of starting this whole book club, forcing me to read. I like doing it, but I still like put it off, and then as soon as I start, I'm like, why I put this off? I enjoy it. But it's made me want to read other stuff as well. So
sure. Well, hey, if you want to pick the book, you have 2 months to make a decision.
Sure. I mean,
3 months to make a decision.
I've got one in mind. I don't know how many words it is, but
yeah, anything less than 80,000 words, we could easily do in 2 weeks. So
okay,
that's all for this episode.
Hey, thanks for listening.
My name is John,
and I'm Sam. Oh,
I am so embarrassed.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Cut it off. Stop it.
All right, let's start over.
Okay.
All right, thanks for watching.